Be careful how you digest the information, and the better you can qualify it, better action you'll take to duplicate it. What happens if you tell me, oh, I built a $10 million company and I had 100 employees and I was making 4% profit, and I'm sitting here at 5 million making $1 million of profit, and I want to get to 25 million. Am I going to listen to you? Of course not. I'm like, that's awesome, good for you, great job, dude. Don't talk anymore. Don't let it in your head. So what you need to have in place at each level is what needs to be in place at each level. And the things you don't need to be in place are all the things that a lot of you spend your time, energy, and effort on, and you go get bad legal advice, you go see accountants, and they tell you all the wrong things, and it screws your business up. If you're down here, there is no business for any of you to be thinking about franchising your business. Anybody been approached by a franchise lawyer at all in your career? Usually we get 1 or 2 in every room. So look, this is all that stuff, you don't need to worry about any of it. You shouldn't even be thinking about it until you're up here at the top end of break point 4, 25 million. Now, what I always want to say is, okay, so I'm going to tell you the process I go through when I'm going to listen to anybody about anything. There's 3 qualifiers. My first qualifier is when I'm going to seek guidance or advice from anybody, I always want to know, what's the most amount of money you've ever made in a year? Why would I ask that question? If I'm making 10 million a year, am I going to listen to somebody that has all their opinion and they do 3 million a year? Or what about if I'm sitting there with my lawyer and I'm asking him to do the legal work, I make 10 million a year and the most money my lawyer's ever made is 600,000. Should I even take any business advice from that lawyer? Legal, but should I be listening to him about business? My CPA that works all by himself is telling you what you should or shouldn't do with an acquisition. Should I listen to the CPA who still works by themselves? No, they're the most conservative person in the world. So how about the consultant I hire that comes in and tells me what to do when I'm doing 10 million? And I got this consultant, oh, I've got all this experience, blah, blah, boo, 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 and I'll help you, da, da, da. And I'm like, okay, great. What's the most amount of money you've ever made in a year? Well, I have $400,000 or $500,000. Like, great, I make 10 million. Why would I listen to you? In fact, you're working by yourself. I at least have 20 or 30 employees. Those that can't do, can't teach. This is the problem with going and spending your money in a university. If they've been book taught, that's one thing, but the practical application is something, because here in business, it isn't in the macro idea, it isn't in the micro concept, it's in the granular details of making a little different decision, a 5% difference that's going to make it work or not. And if you've never been there with a gun to your head, you have no idea what decision to make. Does this make sense? Second question I ask somebody if I'm taking business advice, what's the biggest thing you've ever built? Quantified by number of employees, revenues, and profitability. Now, what happens if you tell me, oh, I built a $10 million company and I had 100 employees and I was making 4% profit, and I'm sitting here at 5 million making $1 million of profit, and I want to get to 25 million. Am I going to listen to you? Of course not. I'm like, that's awesome, good for you, great job, dude. Don't talk anymore. Don't let it in your head. And the third thing is, what's the biggest exit you've ever had? Now, see, these are my 3 qualifiers for who I'm going to listen to, because here's the thing. I have had friends of mine. I had a bet with Greg Rennick. So Greg and I started our companies both in 2005. We both did $600,000 in 2005. And we had a bet, a $1,000 bottle of wine of the other person's choice every single year on who would beat who in revenue. So the second year I went to 2.4 million, he did 1.8. So he bought me a bottle of wine. Great times. Every year after that, he kicked my ass. So now we're sitting there in 2015, and every year I'm buying him his wine, and he's just grinding it in and grinding it in and grinding it in. I said, let's make a new bet. A Magnum, $10,000 limit for whoever sells their business for the most amount of money. And he's like, that's a no-brainer. I'm 100 million in revenue, you're 30 million in revenue. I'm like, cool. So in 2016, I sold. In 17, he sold. I sold for 77 times EBITDA, 151 million. He sold for 8 times EBITDA, 112 million. I still have the Magnum in my fridge. It's like in the bottom, and we've been talking since then about getting together and drinking it, but we need more than a couple hours. So I've seen people build $100 million companies and sell them for 12 million, and I've seen people build $25 million companies and sell them for 200 million. But the point is, if I'm going to listen to somebody, which would be more interesting for me? 25 at 100. But if I'm just like taking notes as fast as I can and do everything you tell me to do, and I can't quantify or qualify it, I'm going to go home and maybe build something wrong. Now, it is still better talking to those people than nobody, or your wife or friend that doesn't know, never did it, right? It's still better. I'm not saying don't do that, but what I am saying is be careful how you digest the information, and the better you can qualify it, better action you'll take to duplicate it. Does that make sense? So for me, if I'm going to build anything, and see, this is I learned this because I did not do it my first company, which is how I sold my business for 77 times EBITDA, because I studied the largest transactions that happened in the marketplace and understood what created that value. And then I built my business to that. In fact, I pivoted that in 2012 or 2011. If you would have asked me, like, how big do you want to build your business and how much EBITDA and how much profitability? My profitability went from 8 million a year down to 2.5, because I realized, wait a minute, I'm not going to sell my business based on my profitability. I'm going to sell my business based on how much volume I control that a buyer would want to shift to them. So I had the largest independent network of distribution in the United States that outperformed their peer groups 3.5 to 15 times. I sold that. And then I said, I'll do it for you. And so I stepped in and we reported 151 million. We actually got 188 million because we overperformed. We took a company that was $1 billion in revenue, trading at $17 a share, within 36 months to $94, worth $4.5 billion. If you want to see in real life the book, How the Mighty Fall, I'm going to show you what it looks like in real life. I'm going to show you what happens when somebody architects and engineers a business, deploys it in 8 countries, doing personal, professional, financial goal planning, working with independent business owners, supporting and helping them, and having really super smart people take over and say, we don't need to do any of that. My first day on the job was right there. Stock was $18 a share. My last day was July 1st of 21. Take it up there. Right there, $92. It is now today, $16.60. See how fast they broke it? Every one of those executives has resigned in the last 5 months. It's a catastrophic event. Erasing $3 billion, because you have to be smarter than everybody else. This is what they did. Me, the global CFO, the global CEO, who were all working together globally, we all left at the same time because they brought in a new chairman who was saying they're going to bring all these new people in. What they literally did, I'm just going to visually show you. They went from this to hiring a whole bunch of high-paid C-suites that look like this. See that? And when you go take a $4 billion company and put everything in a silo, you have chaos. Everyone was smarter than we were, so they unwound what we did, and now you get the visual representation. That's why Jim Collins wrote the book, How the Mighty Fall. And it couldn't be a better test case. So now, if you're me, and you're the global CFO and the global CEO, and we left, and we see that, what do we think about? Nah, fuck it, we think about buying it and doing it again, because we already did it. We're just going to put everything back that they undid. But it's going to be harder because, see, remember that belief lever? We had created so much belief around the world about what was possible, and they literally cut it all off. So now, people that were down here in the tone scale that went up here are now here because they had it and they lost it. And what's worse is never having it and being inspired to get it, that's one thing. But getting it and losing it, now it's harder. Does that make sense? This belief, operational effectiveness, and leadership. What that chart showed you is a catastrophic loss of all 3 of the lids simultaneously. But it started with the leadership lid. They hired a bunch of leaders who knew better. Never asked any questions. Didn't even debrief us when we left. Didn't say, hey, you guys did such a great job. Do you mind spending maybe a couple days with us and we could get the team together and understand how you work together as a team globally and did all these things and why PPFs matter. They literally shut off our technology that maps 10,000 people's PPFs because we didn't just have their employees' PPFs, we had our customers' PPFs. They shut our customers' PPFs off, which means our customers are like, you're not doing that for me anymore? Okay, we'll go somewhere else. Can't fix stupid, but you can take advantage of it.